Right, alright. So today we will be able to see the Linux commands, and so I am Madhav. Actually, I'm going to be I'm going to be teach about the Linux, and as well as how to set up the Linux environment. Then after that, let's we see about how to set up the WebLogic server environment. Then how you're going to be deploying the applications to the WebLogic server, server environment. So that part I'm going to be covering in coming 4 or 5 classes. So right. So before we are going to be start, Linux environment related commands. So let us we see, what is a server, then what is web server, then after that, so what are the application servers and what are the web servers, then why you are going with a WebLogic application server, then that a WebLogic application server setup, generally we are going to be setting up in the Linux environment. So for that part, generally what we need to do first, we'll see then what is a server and all those. So briefly I can go through those things first, right? So let's we see first history of the application servers. I'll go very brief about that. Then later on we will move to that setting of the Linux environment. Then later we will move to the Linux environment related commands. So I'm going with the history of the application servers, which means before what we had generally, after that, after a web server, generally why application servers came out into the picture. So that part we will be able to cover a little bit. So here. Right. So let's we see the first what is web server generally. Then later we will come to know what are the popular web servers which are available in the market. Later we will go to the application server. Then what are the application servers which are available. And later, that application server we are going to be setting up in the Linux environment. So for that we need to set up the Linux environment, and then so we will go through that Linux environment related commands. Alright? Right. So what is a web server generally? So see, so web server is nothing but what, it is an server side, it is a server side product generally. It has going to be written the web content, in other words, HTTP files. So basically it has going to be written the static document. Let's we see the architecture of the web server generally. See, this is client and this is server. See what happened, so whenever clients make a request from here, then it has going to be passing the request to the server. Then based on the request, it has going to be generating the response. And send back to the requested base, it has going to be displaying the result on the requested base. So which means, basically what I mean to say in the web servers generally, so it follows client server architecture. In other words, two-tier architecture only. So this is what generally basically you can call it as client. So what's a client and what's a server in this? Client this is, and server request, and you get the response later. Or request, then you will get the response. See, what's a client and what is a server, then how the clients make a request, then how you will get the response. See, in the web server generally, I already told you, so web server basically which are used to, return the static content most of the time generally, which is used to host the websites. So, in that case generally, web server generally primary it is going to be, cater the web pages whenever the client make a request. If it is HTTP, then even response also will get in the HTTP. So whenever you get the request in HTTPS, your response also will get in a HTTPS. Both you will get HTTP or HTTPS. HTTP and HTTPS means, HTTPS means over security, HTTP means without security. So that's the difference between HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP means normal communication without security, HTTPS means with security. Then whenever clients, a client, what's a client here? So client is nothing but what, generally, a piece of computer hardware or software generally. So which are going to be access the services which are accommodated by the server. So that is what generally which you can call it as client. Then what is a server? So generally what happens in the server, server often it has going to be, set up in the different machine, or different machine generally. So which means in a different in a machine. What happened in this, all the information which is going to be stored in the server only. So all the services which are going to be offered in the server generally. So basically what happened, those services generally which can able to access by the client. So by the way over the network generally. So that is what generally client and as well as server. So both we can call it as client server model. So two web servers generally which follows the two-tier architecture. So in other words, two-tier architectures are called thick clients. Thick clients. So what is a thick clients here? So thick client is nothing but what basically what happened here in the two-tier architecture. So there is no middle layer here. Everything directly which can connect with directly which is going to be connected with the database server. Which means whenever clients make a request, so this request generally what happened, after doing that validations, generally it has going to be passing that request and to the server directly. It has going to be communicate with the database server. Then there it has going to be executing some of the SQL transactions here. Then after that it has going to generate the response. That generated response sent back to the requested page or client, and client will display or error, doesn't matter. So which means, see, in the client generally what happened, so it has going to be displaying results which are going to be sent by the server. Then it is also accepting the user, request. So both activities it has going to be, will do in a single machine. So that is nothing but what in a client machine. So that's why generally what will happen, there is a more burden on the client. Gradually what happened, the requests are going to be increasing, burden also increasing on the client. And simultaneously what happened here, client it is going to be directly connecting to the database server. There is a burden on the data server also. So that's why two-tier architectures are thick clients, which means whenever there is a more burden on the client. So hence we can call it as a thick client. Web servers are thick client. So this is about web server. Then what is web server? Then what type of architecture generally it is going to be follows. Then how it is going to be processing the request internally. Then what are the popular web servers which are available in the market? So there are following popular web servers which are available in the market. Example, see the first one, ISS, Internet Information Server. For .NET applications generally use this web server. Then second one, Apache web server. And third one, OHS, Oracle HTTP server. And fourth one, IHS, IBM HTTP server. So these are the popular web servers which are available in the market. So sometimes generally whenever you are deploying the .NET applications, then use this IIS also. You will use IIS web server. So that case generally what happened, so you can set up the IIS environment. Very few cases you will able to get this .NET application integration with the DevOps generally. So these are the popular web servers which are available in the market. So then so in the web servers generally there are some drawbacks which are available in the web servers. So what are the drawbacks generally, or in other words which you can call it as disadvantages. So what happened here? So there is client server request. Here what happened, in the web server generally which is going to be handled or which is going to be manages the first drawback only the web applications. Which is nothing but what only web applications which is going to be manages, or it is going to be deploy only web applications. Then what happened here? Here we have the web container generally in web servers. So after you deploy web container, so which is going to be processing the request by executing that code. This is the first drawback. Enterprise applications which you cannot able to manage in the web servers. And second one, there is a limitation, in the request. So generally what happens, simultaneously you cannot able to raise a number of requests generally. So there is some limitation actually. See, by default in web servers generally, so 0 to or something like the 2 to 500 requests which you can able to accept, which you can able to raise concurrently, then maximum you can raise 2 to 80,000 requests. So whenever the requests are within this concurrently, so which is going to respond as much as possible. So after reaching this count, what happened? Gradually it is going to be decreasing the performance, and which leads to the network bottlenecks. This is another disadvantage. And third one, so these are thick clients generally. Thick clients. Web servers are thick clients. Thick clients, I already told you, whenever you may have the more burden on the client, so then you can call it as thick clients. So web servers, whenever rise the request, gradually requests are going to be increasing, so burden also increasing. So obviously the burden also increasing, and simultaneously it is going to be reducing the performance also. If it is within that range, then it is going to be increasing the performance. Yes. Any doubt?
Yeah, can you please do a little bit slow, like
Okay,
while
no.
it's
Okay, no problem. All right. Oh, these are the disadvantages of the web service. The first one, it has going to be host only the web applications. Second one, network client connection limits. In the sense, concurrently it has going to be accept in between the 2 and 80,000 requests only maximum. If it is within that range, it has going to be, process the request as soon as possible. So without network issues or without net bottlenecks, then it has going to reach that count. So in that case, generally what happened? So gradually it has going to reach to the network bottlenecks. Then what happened? Other disadvantage generally, these are the thick lines, which means a request are going to be increasing. Then what happened? The performance also it is going to be decreasing. Then other one, for managing and maintaining, which does not have the separate management console. So all the deployed applications does not have the separate management console. Then another disadvantage, see, whenever client make a request, so that request generally which is need or which requires the database connection. So that is really what will happen. So you already configured in the client side, based on that it is going to be configuring the or creating the database connections, and through that it is going to be connecting to the database server and gets the data from the database. So what happens generally while they're packing the applications into the WAR or ER or JAR files, at that time they are going to be specifying some connections generally, some database connections. So those generally which you cannot able to resize dynamically according to the application requirement, which means so developers they can set some 15 client connections by default. So after completing that 15 client connections, I'm just taking the example. So there is no way to resize those or increase those connections dynamically in the sense while running the application. So that is another disadvantage, which means you cannot resize the database connections dynamically. This is another disadvantage. You cannot resize the database connections dynamically. Then generally, after that, what happened? Security issue, and performance issue. See, in two-tier architecture, generally what will happen, whenever you're distributing the application in two-tier architecture, every time you are going to be distributing, right? The code which is not, located in single place. You're distributing that application to the different machines. So which means there is no code integrity and data integrity. So there is no code integrity and data integrity. Code and data integrity. So there is no code and data integrity. So these are some disadvantages generally. Then very important one, which does not support the enterprise applications. Only web application level clustering only it has going to be supporting. EJB level clustering which does not support. Because it supports only the web applications, right? Web application level clustering only it does support. This is another disadvantage. So these are the disadvantages while you are using the whenever you are going through this web server certainly. So due to these reasons generally they came with a solution called application servers. They came with a solution called application servers. What is application server? Then how the requests which are going to be processing. Then what is the architecture of the application server? See, application server which is nothing but what so which is a software which is going to be providing environment to deploy the applications into the application server. those deployed applications which are going to be available to the client. So client in distributed environment, client able to access those applications, either it may be locally or remotely. So that is what generally you can call it as, application server. Application servers are the softwares which are going to be help enterprise applications install, it as providing the environment. In that environment, which are going to install all the applications. Those installed applications which are available to the client, and client able to access either it may be locally or remotely. So let's we see architecture of the application server. See, application server generally which follows three-tier architecture or entire architecture. See, whenever the application server came out into the picture, either it may be a three-tier or entire architecture. The reason is what, tomorrow workload is increased. Then you can set up in a different machine. Everything is same. You can distribute the application to the different physical machine. So that's why application servers, which follows the three-tier architecture or entire architecture. Very important definition. Application servers which are going to be support both static and dynamic, request. So here you will get doubt. What is static request and what is dynamic request? Static request means which does not change whatever which are already, whatever the data which are going to be stored already in the server side, those which you can able to access at runtime, which means data which does not change ever. Example, PDF documents, HTML pages, images. Mhm.
Please call technical support now. Call the toll-free number on your screen, then press 1 to speak with an agent and stop this process. Hard drive safety delete will stop.
Right. So, static content and dynamic content generally. Static content means generally, so what are those static content? Static content means PDF documents, HTML pages, images, all those whenever you already stored in the server. Whenever you require, then you can able to access those documents, which does not change ever. Such kind of request or such kind of content which you can call it as static content served by the web servers. Coming to the application server, which serves both static and as well as the dynamic content. Static and dynamic content. So what is the dynamic content? Dynamic content means based on the client's request, which is going to be generate the response, which is not same actually. So based on the client request, which is going to be generate the response, which is called dynamic content. Example, so whenever you go to the ATM, you want to withdraw amount from your account. Assume like that, in your account, you have some amount, but you have requested more than whatever, which contain in your account. So that time generally what will happen? So withdrawal module which comes into the picture, which has going to be checks your requested amount, either it may be less than or greater than. If it is a less than, then it is going to be, allowed to get the amount from the ATM. If it is a greater than, then you will get some exception. You cannot able to, get the amount. Something like that you will get the exception, does not have the enough funds. Please enter within the range, otherwise you will get any one exception. Which means based on your request, it is going to be generating the response. Such kind of request or content. So in general, which you can call it as dynamic content or dynamic request. Both requests generally which are going to be served by the application servers. Let us we see here application servers which follows the three-tier architecture. So the first change was between web servers and application server. See, so the every code, whatever the code you are going to be deploying, so that code which is going to be stored, in a single physical layer called middle layer. This layer was introduced after application servers, came out into the picture. Let's we see here. Other important change, client does not able to, connect with the database server directly. So every SQL statement or every database request which is passed through the middle layer only, which means which is going to be share the burden in between the client and as well as the server. So which means So application servers, generally which you can call it as thin clients. Thin clients means when there is no burden on the client, so which you can call it as thin clients. So why there is no burden? Client server, the client machine, which is only responsible for accepting the client's request and displaying the results which are sent by the server. Middle layer generally which is responsible for executing the code or executing the data validations and processing this request to the data server. In other words, data layer. So in the data layer generally which contains the application related data, if it is already exist, so by executing the SQL statement it is going to be generated and send back to the application layer. Application layer send back to the client and client will display the output or error. See here, this is what generally you can call it as client side, and this is what generally you can call it as application layer or tile or middle layer or middle tile, whatever it is. This is what data tile or data layer or server tile, whatever it is. Request and this is also request, and then you are getting the response here. See, whenever clients make a request, that request generally which is passed, to the application layer. Client side, there is no code in application server. So every application, which is going to be deployed to the middle layer only. All the applications, whatever the applications you have deployed, all those applications generally which are available in the middle layer only. In the sense, in application server only. In other words, application layer only, which means you may get code integrity here and as well as data integrity here, and performance also which is going to be increased, and security also which has increased. How I can say security increased? See, in two-tier architecture you cannot set domain level security, but whereas in application servers you can set application security, and as well as we can set the domain level security also. Because so in application servers you're going to be creating the domain, so which means domain level you can provide the security for your code, and as well as specific application also which you can able to provide the security. So in this fashion, it is going to be processing the request in three-tier architecture, using the three-tier architecture in application server. So what are the popular application servers which are available in the market? So what are the advantages? All these, whatever, which you have seen disadvantages in the web server. So those are called advantages of the application server. Example, does not have the any client connection limit. It does not have the any net client connection limits. Concurrently, you can raise n number of requests. There is no problem. And second one, it does support the EJP and as well as the web application level clustering. It does have the separate management console. Like example, so whenever you install the WebLogic server, that time you can come to know. In the admin console, you can monitor and manage all the applications. So this management console which is there. Then after that, so whenever the database connections are not enough to the application, at runtime. So that time generally what will happen? You can resize the applications. You can resize the application. You can resize the database connections to the application. Depends on the requirement. Which means whenever it required you can increase. Whenever it required you can decrease dynamically in application servers. So it provides the code integrity, data integrity. It provides the security. It provides more security than a web server. So code integrity, data integrity, all these advantages that you can able to get so while you are implementing the application servers. So that is what generally these days, so we are going through the application servers only instead of going with these web servers, except this IaaS. So .NET applications, there is no application servers. So they have only one server called IaaS, Internet Information Server. Then for Java application, so we should go application servers only. We should go with application servers only. Then let's go with what are the example or popular application servers which are available in the market. So the first one, JBoss application server, and second one, WebLogic application server, and third one, Class WebSphere application server, which is coming from IBM. And there are other popular application servers also which are available, and like Glassfish application server, and Oracle OC4J application server. So these are some popular application servers which are available in the market. See, JBoss application server and Apache Tomcat Web application server, those are open source, open source softwares, which means there is no, no need to be pay for implementing actually. So open source softwares which you can able to download and set up the environment. So coming to this WebLogic and WebSphere and Oracle OC4J, earlier Glassfish application server, are free, but these days, general what will happen, this is also commercial application server only, which is coming from the Oracle. So this is coming from the Red Hat, and this is coming from the Oracle, and this is coming from the IBM. This is Oracle. Again, this is Oracle. See, among all these application servers, so we are going to be setting up, for your environment generally, WebLogic application server. This is about application servers, history, which means these are the reasons we came up with the application servers generally. So in that, we are going to be going with the WebLogic application server. Then, so whenever you're going to be implementing the WebLogic application server, we need the environment, right? So we need environment. We need environment. See, either it could be a Windows or either it could be a Linux environment. So in production, most of the cases, like 80 to 85% or 90% will go with the Linux environment only. So Linux environment only. And rest of the environments, so you will get very rare, like Windows in production, so you can get very less actually, like 5% only. So that's why, so we are going with the Linux environment, so setting up this WebLogic server environment. So for this setting up the Linux environment, so what we need actually, what are the softwares which are required here? So the following softwares which are required here to set up the Linux environment. See, if you know already how to set up the Linux environment, see there are two ways which you can able to set up the Linux environment. One is, without VMware. Second one is with VMware. Without VMware means, so you will get only one operating system. Like at the time of booting, you can select either it may be a Windows or Linux. At the time of booting, you can able to select either it may be a Windows or Linux environment. Then you will get only Linux environment. So I don't want like that. I need to go with both Windows and as well as the Linux environment, which means at the same time I need to be access both Windows and as well as the Linux environment. So at that time generally, so we need to be download VMware. So see, there is a security issue. The first reason is security. Okay. In the production environment, why we are going with the Linux means the first one, security reason, and second one, everything in a command mode. Everything in a command mode. There is no GUI generally. See, in production environment, whenever you are connecting using the putty, so there is no GUI until unless you install forcefully, then you can able to access the GUI based of administration. Else, then everything is a command mode. Then security and all those. So that's why instead of Windows environment in production, so we will go with the Linux environment. So some 5 to 10%. Then for you people, like you will get Linux or either it may be Windows. Windows very rare you will able to get for you people also I'm telling. Then coming to the Linux, why 95% means I told you one is security, second one is command mode administration. So third one generally, so most of the time generally what will happen, so over the network, so safe and securely which you can able to exchange the information, like how you are going to be connecting to the remote system and all those. So for secure applications in production environment, so most of the cases will go in the Linux environment only. Right. So for setting up the Linux environment, so here we need the following softwares. VMware. So 7.0 or 8.0 and 9.0, 10, 11, which is there VMware. You can download 8.0. So you can download any version. It will work. There is no way to, doesn't work. Every, VMware version it has going to be support from 7.0 onwards. You can download any version, but I suppose I suggest to download the 8.0 because if you go with the higher versions, so you need little bit memory extra. So that time generally it is going to be consuming the additional memory. So 8.0, 7.0 it is going to be consuming 1 GB memory. So that's why you go with 7.0 or 8.0 or 9.0, doesn't matter. If you have more memory, you can download any version 7.0 to 11.0. Then what is the link actually to download the VMware? So this is the link generally. So you can download from the internet using this link. If you already have VMware workstation in your local machine, then no problem. Then second one, download the Red Hat Linux. Download the Red Hat Linux. See, whenever you are setting without VMware, and you can download, without ISO file. But whenever you are installing the Linux using the VMware, you need to be download the linux.iso file, image file need to be downloaded. Then you can install the Linux through the VMware, right? So these two softwares generally which are required. So to set up the Linux environment, to download the Linux, so these are the links generally, so which you can able to download. So Linux file, so using this link. This is for VMware, and this is for Red Hat Linux. You can download to your local machine. This is around 2.78 GB. This is around 450 MB. 450 MB. So once you download all these softwares to your local machine, so what we need to do generally, so first you need to be install the VMware workstation. So to install the for installing the VMware workstation, so there is no much complication here. You just double click on the VMware workstation software.exe file. You just double click on it. That's it. You just double click on it. It is going to be asked, click on next, and click on finish button. So there is no option need to be select, and there is no way to change the options also. You just double click on the VMware and click on next. Then until unless you will get something like that, protocol issue. So you already using HTTPS protocol 443. So that time generally you will get some issue, and you change that protocol to any other protocol. Other than that, you may not get any issue. You just click on that VMware software, next, and click on finish button. So after installing the VMware, then you will get the icon on the desktop like this, or like somewhere here. You will get the desktop icon like this, okay, on your desktop. So for installing the Linux, what you will be able to do, you just double click on that this icon. Otherwise, go to the start button. There you can type VMware. So there you will get like this VMware workstation. You just click on it if you are unable to find out on the desktop. Go to the start button and you just type it here VMware, and you just click on it. Then you will get open like this. So what we need to do first time, I need to be install the Linux, right? So what I need to do, you will get like this actually after completing the Linux installation. create a new virtual machine and open a virtual machine, then connect a remote server. So we don't need all these options, so we need these two only. For connecting to the remote server actually doesn't require right now. So create a new virtual machine means, so whenever you are installing the Linux, for first time, you just go through the create a new virtual machine. You already created the new virtual machine, then you just click on the open and go to the path and select it and open the Linux. This is for second option you already created. So right now we don't have any, VMware or something like that, new VMware virtual machine. So I'm going to be creating the new virtual machine here. So for that, click on create new virtual machine. Now I'm going to be installing the Linux through the VMware. Clearly you can understand, okay? I'm just closing. So after you completing the VMware installation, so double click on that VMware installation, the VMware icon, then you will get like this. Here you will have the following options. You need to know about these two options only. Create a new virtual machine means you can install Linux through this VMware first time. You already created means you just click on the open a virtual machine and click on open and you can create, you can open that virtual machine, then you can click on power run, then it has going to start the Red Hat Linux. Any Linux, okay, I just click on the new virtual machine. Then it will get like this. Here you will get the two options, typical or custom. You just go with any one, so there is no difference actually. Typical means generally what happened, what are the default options generally, which is required for installing the Linux, then it has going to be takes. Custom means you can select manually. If it does not require some options, we just deselect those options. You can go either it may be typical or custom. Here there is no option to deselect also. Click on next. Click on next. See, here you will find here three options here. Install disk image file, and will install the operating system later. So you can come to know these two options only. So whenever you want to install the Red Hat Linux using from the disk or something like that using from the DVD, then you can select this option. Then you just click on the next and continue the installation process. But whenever you are installing using from the ISO file, in the sense, image file, at the time generally you can able to select the second option and click on browse, where do you have all the Red Hat Linux softwares, and go to that path in your local machine. So in software and Red Hat software, in that I have the softwares. I just select this, software ISO file. This is what generally Linux software. I just selected and click on open. See, make sure here you will get the message detected. Then only you have selected proper ISO file. If you does not get here detected message, which means so you have some issue with your Linux software or this software, whatever you have selected with ISO file. Okay. So what I need to say here, after you select ISO file, so click on next. See here you can able to provide a name, in the sense username and password. While you are logging into the every time, you have to be provide the username and password. That username and password you can provide here only. Right? You can see you can provide different username different and as well as password different. For remembering purpose, I'm giving username same and password same. So in your case, if you want, you can provide different. Linux, and click on next, and where you want to install. So by default it has going to be installed under the C under the documents it has going to be installed. So if you want to install in default path, you just click on the next. Otherwise, if you want to install in a separate location, click on browse and you can browse the location where you want to install. I just click on, so here or you can provide some name, dev wls VM. So under this so Linux related files which are going to be installing, if you does not provide any name in F drive, on the F drive directly it is going to be installed. So that's why you need to be provide some name. Under this it is going to be installed under this location. Click on next. and if you want you can select the two processors and click on next. So in DB select the memory. So by default it will take the 2 GB. So for running, without any issue, you just go with the 2 GB. If you have a low memory, even you can select the 1 GB also. Even you can select the 1 GB also. If you have higher memory, then you can select 2 GB. High memory, if you have your local machine, you can select, 2 GB. Right. So if you have a I mean, if you have if it does not have the enough memory, then you can select 1 GB also. There is no problem. It will work. 1 GB is minimum, then 2 GB is recommended. Click on next. No need to change anything here. Network type. Click on next. Here also no need to change anything. Click on next and click on next, and no need to change anything here. Click on next. See, for practicing and managing in the Linux, so by default it has going to take the 20 GB hard disk. If you have a more hard disk, and you can select, so more hard disk also. If it does not have the enough hard disk, so then you can leave it 20 GB also. 20 GB which is enough for practicing purpose. Click on next. This file which is going to be creating under this path. Click on next. So all these details, then you can quickly review about whatever you have selected, all the options. If you want to change anything, then you just click on and you can change. So if there is no change, the moment you click on the finish button, then it is going to start the installation. So it will take 10 to 15 minutes. Then it is going to be complete. It will complete the installation. Then later, so you will get like this. It is going to start the installation now. See, it is going to start the installation part now. See, after completing after completing all these steps, so it will take 10 to 15 minutes. Then for completing all these installation, you just leave it as it is. No need to select any options. So I have selected all options. After 15 minutes, then you will get the Linux screen. Then you already gave some username and password, right? So that time generally what will happen, so you just provide username and password, then it has going to be, so it has going to start that, installation. So it is going to be extracting and starting that installation. So all the packages, so it is going to be installed. Then after completing that installation process, I already have completed some installation here. So I have some other, Red.Linux here. I just go with that. So after you complete the installation, it is going on, okay? So it will complete. At the end, I will show you how you can able to log in and all those. After completing that installation, so you will get directly Linux machine. So every time you just click on the power on virtual machine, just click on it. So the installation which is going on, I'm going to start other, VMware through the Linux actually. Other Linux I'm going to start now. If somebody unable to download, then you will get the links. Then you can use those links and you can download it. If you are unable to download, you just drop the message, then you will get those softwares. Like you will just click on that username and provide the username. After completing the installation, you will get like this. You just click on the username and provide the password. Then you are able to log into the Linux machine. Then after you log into the Linux machine, so you will get something like that in the Linux. Like, so what are the default directories, which are going to be installed. So these are custom which I created generally. So the moment you click on the My Computer, then File System. See, there is no C drive and D drive, or there is no drives in the Linux. So everything which is going to be stored under the file system. The moment you click on the files computer, my computers or something like the computers, and click on the file system. See, every file or everything which is going to be stored in a file in the Linux, even media files, everything which is going to be stored under the in the form of files only. So these are all the default directories which are going to be created whenever you have installed it for first time. So what are those directories and all those we'll be able to see now. See, I'm just moving to the Linux environment related commands now. What is a file? Because in the Linux, everything which is going to be stored, in the form of file only, right? What is file and what is a file system and what is the hierarchy of the file system? This is called hierarchy of the file system. So those we will be able to see. See, something file is nothing but what in it is going to be is stored data in a given name. So something like that. I'm entering some data in some text file. Then I just click on the save, which means what happened in a given name it is going to store the some related data. So that's what generally you can call it as file. All those sort of files which we can able to store under the hierarchy called file system. So all these files generally collection of the files which are going to be stored under the logical media called file system. So in Linux, everything which is treated like as a file, including the hardware devices and as well as directory, everything which is treated like as a file only. So whenever you log into the Linux, so what is the default hierarchy? I just clicked on the my computer, then later I clicked on the file system. Here you have the slash. These are all called default directories. So what are those we will be able to see now? See, slash. Slash is nothing but topmost directory in the file system hierarchy, which is called root directory. In other words, it's a reference point or reference point of entire file system. It's a reference point to the entire file system, which means the moment you click on the file system, so it is going to be displaying here all the files under this slash. That's why slash is nothing but what it provides the entire reference point to the file system. So generally to this root slash directory, system administrator can log in, will do the system administration activities. So what is the default root directory? So the moment you will the moment you will click on the file system, you will get these directories, right? So in this, I'm going to be discussing about the root, somewhere which is available. See here, root. Root is nothing but what default root user. Default administrator username is nothing but what root. Default administrator username which is called root. See, whenever you want to do any administrative activities, you just log in as a root and you can execute any type of command on the Linux. Any type of command you can execute under the root user. So who will log into the root user? Generally Linux administrator log into this root user and will do the administrative activities. So generally in real time, we don't have any privileges to log into the root until unless if there is any special requirement, then only we should be able to log in. Else it is not possible. It is not possible to log into a root. This is about the slash and root. And coming to the home generally, so what's the home directory generally? See, home is nothing but something like that. How many users you have in the Linux? All those users generally which are available under the home directory. All those users generally which are available under the home directory. It is just like my documents in Windows. Whatever the users you have created, all those users generally which are available under the home directory. Example, you just go to here. See, I'm just clicking on the home directory, somewhere which is available home. See, I have created one Linux and WebLogic user. whatever the user you create by default, which is going to be created under this home directory by default. So just like my documents. Then boot directory. So generally boot directory, see at the time of starting the Linux operating system, which requires some core files, for the operating system, right? All those, core files, like example, kernel and all those files, core files, which are going to be, invoked from the boot directory at the time of operating system booting. So generally nobody can touch this boot directory. Proc directory, which is nothing but this is a special case directory which contains all the running information about the system. Sbin and bin. So very important, these two directories. Sometimes you will get some interview question also. What is the difference between the sbin and bin? So bin means binary. So bin directory generally, there are two kinds of directory. There are two kinds of users which are available in the Linux. There are two kinds of user. One is normal user. Second one is root user, right? So normal user can execute some limited commands only. Administrator or root user can execute every command. So whatever the command which are executed by the normal user, those related files or those related commands which are available under the bin directory. Whatever the commands which are executed by the root or administrator, root user or administrator, generally those commands which are available under the sbin. So I think you can come to know what is the difference between the sbin and bin. Bin stands for the binary, which contains the essential commands which are executed by the every user who are logged into the Linux. Generally, those commands which execute by the every user. So that is what generally which you can call it as bin directory. Sbin means, sbin stands for the system binary. Every command which is executed by the, root user or super user. So all commands which are executed by the root or super user, those commands generally which are available under this sbin directory. This is about the difference between sbin and bin. Then USR generally, USR stands for the system resources, generally which contains, all the user related programs and as well as the, which you can able, all the user related programs and applications which you can able to install under this, USR directory. Then var generally, which stands for the variable, so which contains the, information about all the hardware devices. etc, it's a very important directory. Generally nobody can touch this directory. etc means which contains all the configuration related files regarding the Linux, generally system data files, all which contains in the etc directory. So nobody can touch this etc directory. Then OPT means optional. All the optional softwares like, antivirus, something like that, or something like that, Open Office, any other optional softwares which you can able to install under the OPT directory, right? So media means generally what happens usually, so by using this media directory, you can mount, so data from removable media to file system and file system to removable media, which is nothing but what, CD-ROM or DVD or pen drive to the file system and file system to pen drive by using this media. And temp directory generally, which contains the temporary files, whenever you start the Linux operating system, automatically which is going to be create the temporary files. Whenever you are shutting down the Linux operating system, automatically which is going to be, deleted those temporary files. Just go to over there and you can check. So this is what generally which you can call it as, all the this is called hierarchy of the file system. In other words, directory structure of the file system. If you notice, so every directory which I discussed here, except something like that here, lib, all the libraries which are available under this. So, this is about the directory structure of the file system. In this you will able to get, one interview question. What is the difference between the sbin and bin? Then, so that question you will able to get here. This is about the file system of the, Linux operating system. So after completing these, so where I can able to work actually, so how I can able to start my work. So everything which you can able to go through using the command mode here. So terminal. So what is a terminal here? Terminal is nothing but what, user workspace where user can work. Terminal is nothing but user workspace, something like that. So anybody, if you have any idea about the putty, so the moment you click on the putty, you just provide the IP address and you just click on open, then you will get one workspace, which is nothing but one terminal, which is working on the terminal. Similarly, like that here also, which you can able to open the terminal. What is a terminal? Terminal is nothing but what, user's workspace. Let's we see how to open the terminal. There are two ways to open the terminal. So opening a terminal, this is one method, and otherwise go to the applications and system tools and click on the terminal. So any one way you can go, and you can go through and open the terminal. So click on the terminal. So the moment you open the terminal, then what is this, what is the terminal of this name, right? So how I can able to get terminal name of whatever I opened currently. So there is a command called tty, which is nothing but what, will get the terminal name which you open or which you currently open. See, that is what my terminal name. So that's what my terminal name. See, in the Linux, how you can able to get the help about the commands. So manual help, something like that, how you can able to get the help. There are a few ways here we have to get the help about the commands. Man. So man is a command generally. Man space to get the manual about the commands or to get information about the commands including the syntaxes. Man space command. Right? So using this command generally you can able to get the help about the commands. Just go to over there, man tty. I just clicked on the command, right? So name, this is what generally you can call it as name of the command. Then for what reason you're using this command. Then all the options. So all the information which is going to be displaying about this command. Man space command. To come out this manual, you just click on Q. Q means quit. Otherwise you cannot come out from that manual. This is how you can able to open the terminal. Then now you can come to know the terminal name. Then now you can able to get the information about the command, including the options. Right, once you complete that part, see, we'll come to know later what type of file assembly which is going to be supported by the Linux. See, the moment I already completed TTY command. See, whenever you open the terminal, here you will be able to see dollar prompt. This is what generally dollar prompt, right? Dollar prompt. So what is the dollar prompt? So just now I told you what is bin. Bin is nothing but which contains the essential commands which are executed by the every user who ever logged into the Linux, right? Whoever logged into the Linux. So that is what generally which you can call it as bin. So dollar, which is something like similar like that only. Dollar is nothing but normal user prompt. So whenever you are under the dollar, so which is called normal user prompt. So whoever log into the Linux, they can get by default this dollar prompt only. This dollar prompt only. This is what generally you can call it as dollar prompt. So coming to here, next one, what is su command? Then how you can able to switch to the root prompt? In other words, hash prompt. Su is nothing but what? Switch user. Switch from one user account to another user account, right? How you can able to switch within a Linux from one user account to another user account. And coming to here, so see something like that here. What is the syntax? Su space username, enter password. This is the syntax generally. So whenever you want to shift to the root, su space root also one user, right? Su space root and root password you just provide. Then you can shift to normal user to root user. If you want to change some user, WebLogic, then you can provide the password. Then you are going to shift into this WebLogic user, current user to WebLogic user. Let's see what is the default user here, Linux. I'm just going to be changing or shifting to the root user. Su space root, enter. I'm just providing the password. See, earlier it was Linux, now here it is root, which means I have changed from Linux to root user. Then if you notice here, the prompt also is going to be changed. Earlier it was dollar prompt, now it is hash prompt. Hash is nothing but administrative or super user prompt. Administrative or super user prompt, which means every command which you can able to execute in the Linux under this hash prompt. In other words, root prompt. So this is about dollar and as well as the hash. Dollar means normal user prompt. Hash means administrative or super user prompt. SU, which is nothing but command which is used to switch from one user account to another user account. Normally, what is the syntax? SU space username and enter the password. This is what generally dollar, SU and hash. See, and another important interview question here, what is the difference between single dot and double dot? Single dot generally refers to the current directory. Example, I have some scripts under the WebLogic directory. I am also under the WebLogic directory. I want to execute some scripts under the WebLogic directory, in the sense from the current directory. So at that time, I'll use the dot. Single dot refers to the current directory. Double dot refers to the parent directory. Double dot refers to the parent directory. Single dot refers to the current directory, which means you can execute the script from the parent directory. Whenever you specify the double dot, you can execute the script from the current directory. This is about the dot and double dot. So you will be able to get an example or something like that which you can able to do practical dot and double dot in the WebLogic when you are doing the startup and shutdown scripts for the WebLogic servers. At the time you can come to know practically. So this is about dollar and as well as the double dot. See, navigation commands, which means how you can able to navigate from one directory to other directory. See, let us say take in Windows generally, how you can able to navigate, you just using the mouse, you just click on and you are going to you just click on the folder and go to the directory, you just clicking on, right? Similarly like that here, so we will go through these commands. CD, which means change directory, from one directory to other directory. Like CD space dir name, you're going from current directory to specified directory, right? So let's go here, we'll see. CD space enter means wherever you are, doesn't matter. You just go to the current logged in user homes directory. You just go to here. So what is the user's home directory here? Home Linux. Wherever you are, doesn't matter. So you just click on CD space icon. See? No, sorry. CD enter. See, this is what generally you can call it as. It will go to the user's logins home directory. So it will go to the user's logins home directory. And CD space hyphen means it will brings to the previous working directory. Example, in Windows you use the control Z, right? Similarly like that. So what is your previous working directory? This is what generally you can call it as previous working directory. CD space hyphen, you got the previous working directory. See, CD space hyphen means it will bring the previous working directory. Then CD space directory name, which means you can change one directory to the required directory. CD space dot dot means you can come down one level back. CD space dot dot and slash dot dot, so you can come down two level back. If you know how many levels you can come down, so that many levels which you can able to give, then all those levels you can come down at the same time. CD space slash means directly will go to the root directory. So let's see those practical. See where I am now. PWD means present working directory. Where you are, it as going to display. PWD which means present working directory. Where you are, it is going to display. See here under this path, it is going to display the following directories here. So what I mean to say here, cd space desktop. This is another directory generally. Desktop also, it is one of the directory. Cd space directory. I just enter. See where I am now. Cd space desktop. So I went to the desktop directory. Cd space dot dot. I'm just coming down one level back. See, whenever you want to just go to this directory. Then after that, if you want, whenever required, you can come down. If you know more than one level, you can come down. Cd space dot dot. See, in Windows, there is no space, cd dot dot. But whereas in Linux, cd space dot dot slash. This is for coming down one level. Second level, third level, like that how many levels you want to come down at the same time, you just provide those many levels. Then last command, cd space slash, directly will come to the root or something like that, directory. So these are the navigation commands. So I told you already how you can able to get the help. So here we have the command called man space command name. You will get the manual about the command including the options. To come out that manual, you just click on the Q, you just quitting from that manual. Even you can go with the other also. Just go to here other using other commands also. One is help space info space pwd example. See, brings the name of the current working directory. So to come out, we just again press Q. This is another way of getting the manual about the command. Then command space -help. This is another, see, another way, like example pwd space. So you'll get like this is another way of getting the manual help. So command space help. So these are the three ways generally which you can able to get help about the commands. Then among these three commands, so man is a command which will give the complete information including what are the options which are associated with that command. So that's why use man command only instead of going with the rest of two. You always go with the man command only to get the manual about the command. So pwd means, so which is going to be displaying about the present working directory where you are currently, it has going to be displayed. So there is some interview question. You just hang on one second. Sorry for the interruption. Right. So here you will get one question here. What is the difference between the pwd and pwdx? See, pwdx means it has going to be displaying about the present working directory where you are currently, it has going to be displaying. Pwx means what are the processes generally which is going to be displaying generally. It has going to be reporting the current working directory of a process. Current working directory of a process. So practically, whenever you are running the WebLogic server, that time you can come to know, because there is no process running here, which is empty here in the Linux. So whenever you run the WebLogic servers, that time which is going to be create the process, then you can come to know what are the processors generally which are going to be running or which are going to be report the current working directory of a processors. What is the syntax? pwdx space PAD. PAD means process ID. So this is the difference between the pwd and pwx. The next command is tree command. See, whatever the command you have typed in the Linux, every command which is going to be recorded in the history. How you can able to get all the previous commands, right? History. See, all these commands, whatever you have typed till now, all those commands which you can able to get, in the form of history. So what I can able to do here, sometimes generally what will happen, you may clear this history, then all these commands generally, if you require, you can redirect it to the some file. First we'll able to see how to redirect these commands to the some text file. So history double greater than, then path, you have to specify the path where you want to store the text file. Directly if you give a name, under the current path only it is going to be stores. Example home, Linux, desktop, so history commands dot txt, whatever it may be, you just provide the name whatever the name you require. So those commands which are going to store under this file, where it is under the desktop. Go to the desktop, see here, the moment you click on this text file, every command which is going to be directed to this text file. This is how you are going to be redirecting those commands to the text file. The next, I want to clear all these history commands. How to clear? History -c. See, there is no command now which is available in the history. See, whatever the command you have typed last, that command only which is going to be displaying in the history. So this is about the history command. Sometimes then what will happen after you executing, if you forgot that command, there is no problem. You just click on history. In the history, the command which is going to be displaying again, go through it and execute it. That is about the history command. Then clear and exit. So clear is a command, you can clear the terminal or you can clear the screen. So you can provide the clear word, otherwise you can use the Control-L shortcut. So exit is a command, generally you can exit from the current session and as well as you can exit from the terminal. So you can provide the command as execute, otherwise provide the shortcut Control-D. Go to here, I will just clear. So this is one. So then after that, use the Control-L also. Any one way you can able to use. One is you can provide the complete word clear, and second one you can provide the Control-L. So to clear the screen. For exiting, you just provide the exit. So this is the way how you're going to be exiting the terminal and as well as the session. Otherwise, you can provide the shortcut called Control-D also. See, you can provide the Control-D and you can log out from the terminal. So either you can provide the command, otherwise you can use the shortcut also. So these are some basic commands generally, so which I have completed today. So I will stop here. So tomorrow what I will be able to do, I will go through all the commands generally which you can able to use in daily life in the production environment. Like so how to create a file, how to list the files, how to make the directories, then how to copy, then how you're going to be connecting from local to remote system. Then all the commands generally, like whenever you get any performance issue, you are going to be going through those commands. All those commands which you can able to see tomorrow. So after completing those commands, so we'll see a little bit about the shell scripting. So what is shell scripting? Then now you are going to be making the shell scripting programs. Then I will tell you one or two examples, and I will give the document like 20 to 30 programs which is there, and you can execute those programs. Then you will get a little bit exposure on the shell scripting also. So all that part we'll able to see tomorrow. Then if possible we'll complete tomorrow Linux, otherwise it will go to the next class. So after completing this Linux, then we will be able to move to the web logic. Then how you are going to be setting up the web logic server environment, then what are the requirements, all those parts we will be able to see. So I'm stopping here. Please let me know if you have any doubts. Hello. Hello. We'll see tomorrow like ls command, then so how you're going to be getting about the system information. So in Windows, okay, you'll get by going through the some my computer, then you'll get all the system information. But in Linux, everything which you can able to get through the commands only. Then who command, then run levels, then after that aliases, then files and directories, then after that how you're going to be copying, then what are the links, soft links and hard links, then working with the file permissions, then working with the filtering commands like tail and something like that, head, less and more commands, then process related commands like searching commands, then so some network related commands like how you're going to be connecting from local to remote system. Then whenever you get import conflict issue, how you're going to be resolving those issues. SUO command, how you're going to be compressing the files, then using those commands, what are the shutdown commands, and user related commands, how to create and how to delete all the users whenever it required. Then some miscellaneous commands we'll able to see, including the cron tab. All these performance related commands we'll see, including the cron jobs, cron tab. Then after completing this part, we'll see the Linux part, Linux shell scripting part. Yes, I can share these documents. Don't worry, okay? Once I will complete, I can share these documents to you people, okay? Whatever I'm explaining, so you will get those documents, okay? No worry about the documents. So what I'm expecting for the next class, so if it is possible, you can set up an environment in your local machine and try to work out some commands, whatever I explained today. So if you are unable to set up, if you will get any difficulties, then we'll see tomorrow. I will give a permissions to you people and you can share your screen. Then I will show the steps how to set up in your local machine. Okay? Clear now? So I'm just stopping here. So I think you people are clear, right? No doubts, right? That. So thank you. We will meet tomorrow at the same time and we'll continue. Thank you. Bye.